Our guest today on Caribbeana is Dr. Maziki Thame, who is from Jamaica, from the University of the West Indies and Mona campus in Jamaica. Well, it's nice to talk to you again, Dr. Thame. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Vaughn? Good to be back talking to you and hello to your listeners as well.
Right. Well, 63 years of independence of Jamaica. Well, both Trinidad and Jamaica, but
Yeah.
Jamaica went first. How was it? I mean, how would you characterize 63 years? It's a long time, but in a world very different, huh?
Oh, well, I wasn't around in 62, so it's hard to measure it in those terms.
Right,
So
right.
I suppose as a post-independence generation, um, you know, looking back to as a scholar, we would say that a lot has changed, and in some ways, not a lot has changed.
Yeah,
If you look at the structure of the Jamaican society, many of the problems which we would have faced as problems have stayed with us, high
yeah,
levels of inequality, high levels of poverty, the aspirations of the people have not necessarily been fulfilled in these 63 years.
yes.
But of course, independence has to be considered in terms of a long history of not just colonialism, but also slavery,
You're
and
right.
whether racial justice, you know, is foregrounded at all in the way that we imagine our world.
Right. Well, some of it still, well, a lot of it still remains. Um, do you find that the country still has the problem of complexion indifferences with each other, black and the lighter complexion skin having preferences and so on? Or
Certainly, that remains an issue. Brownness is still valued in Jamaica, and we've experienced reversals.
yeah,
So in the 1970s, 1960s, there would have been, black power uprisings. In the 1970s, the aesthetic of the 70s was afros, dashikis, etc.
yeah,
And now it is not uncommon at all to find that both men and women are bleaching their skins. So definitely there is a recognition that the color privilege matters. We are in an election mode here in Jamaica.
yes,
Elections have been called for September 3rd, and the race issue has been one of the issues that is being foregrounded, um, because the opposition leader is a white Jamaican, and the government, the Jamaica Labour Party, is saying that that's illegitimate, that we
yes.
should not have a white prime minister. So color issues, race issues remain pertinent, and I don't know that we are discussing them in a way that would lead to a more egalitarian world.
Uh-huh.
And this is not just about Jamaica, it's global.
Yeah,
But certainly at home, yeah, there have been tremendous reversal
right,
that continue to plague us.
right. Because I remember the period of when Michael Manley was around. Um, what a leader. There has never been a leader of his character after him since then, would you say?
This is true, but as a scholar of movement, I
Yeah,
like to think about Michael Manley not just as, and he was an important leader, there is no question about that. But it's important to think about the conjuncture as well, the way in which the 1970s brings together, forces that are global, anti-war forces, for
yeah,
example, the new international economic order and third worldism, and that resonated at the bottom of the society. So you could speak of a national movement in Jamaica. You
yeah.
can't speak of that today. So Michael's leadership, yes, but also the fact that he is a player at a time when the consciousness of the people is alerted to injustice and inequality and attempts to transform the world.
Right. Is there any kind of presence expressed of the Rastafarian movement? That seems to have
The
just,
Rasta continues to be present, but I wouldn't say that they have the moral authority that they had at one point. Yeah, in the 1960s, when the state literally took up arms against Rastafari.
Uh-huh.
Then the 1970s, in which there is a kind of fight back in the sense that Rasta becomes a part of the iconography of Jamaica. Michael himself, references the rod of correction in relation to Haile Selassie and this
Right.
sort of thing. In that period, there is a Black consciousness that associates Rasta and, of course, Bob Marley with, um, part of how we are going to define racial justice. But today, I
Yeah.
would say that Rasta is not necessarily in decline in terms of its numbers, but it's in decline as a speaker for those who experience injustice in the society. I mean, the music doesn't even really, exist
Yes.
in
Yeah.
a sense.
Yeah.
Reggae music was Rasta music.
Yeah.
Um, where reggae music exists, it is no longer necessarily Rasta music today.
Right, right, right. But I see another Jamaica still is able to emerge out there through athletics, for example, Usain Bolt, and through the other young lady. I mean, there seems to be a power of advancement of the youth in terms of physical ability. Yeah.
You know what? I wouldn't take individual success of a few people as an indication of the state of the nation, but there's tremendous pride around their success.
Hmm.
And it is also reflective of the intense competition and investment in sport that is not mirrored by an investment in education. The traditional high schools, for example, are very competitive. There's a lot of investment in the boys and girls, no girls champs. It
Right.
used to be only boys champs in terms of the level of investment. But um, so are you saying Bolt can emerge out of that context of
Yeah.
competition? You know, we don't do as well in team sport, and there are reasons for that. But yes, I mean, I know you're pointing me to say celebrate
Yeah.
these successes.
Yeah.
And, oftentimes Jamaican people advance in adversity. They go abroad, and when they have opportunity, they do very well.
Yeah.
And that may be coming out of the harsh conditions that they face at home and figuring out how to survive in it. So I have to, give due respect to the people in their capacity for striving.
Right.
And yeah, there is
Right.
that.
Right. Right. Well, that was going to lead me to my next question of the impact of the diaspora, the Jamaican diaspora. Is it strongly felt at home?
Well, it's strongly felt in the sense of their economic investment in families. Jamaicans send money home, and remittances are an important data point. It is a direct transfer to families in Jamaica. 1 million Jamaicans receive remittances every 2 weeks.
Yes.
So, that's a third of the population.
Right.
And in that sense, our diaspora certainly remains committed to their people at home,
Right.
whether they are, involved in politics, involved in reinvesting in the sense of the structure of the economy,
Yeah.
not so strongly felt.
Yeah.
They might be involved in school activities. So, alumni, people get together and they might make donations to
Right.
schools. And so it happens on a granular level. It happens at the level of people's point of identification, with school or family. But on the national stage, I would say that the diaspora um, is not playing that strong a role.
Right. 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 Well, the role in the Caribbean, in CARICOM and its present activities, um, in terms of coping with the impact of the US, what is happening in the dynamics of the US. How do you see all of that playing? Does Jamaica have a major role, or does she participate alongside people like uh, Mia Motley and they in enhancing the values of the Caribbean for CARICOM of itself?
An important point of reference for thinking about independence,
Yeah,
because the sovereignty question, the question of whether we can, in fact, as nations that have the power to determine our own path, has been with us, right? If you even did polls up to 5 years ago, you would see that there would be high support for maintaining the British monarchy
Yes.
in Jamaica. And so there's always this question, should we have pursued independence? And it's partly because as a microstate, the dynamics of power is always mediated by the nature of the global order, and especially given Caribbean countries' relationship to the United States.
Right.
The fact is that the US is always a player in local politics in the Caribbean and is in many ways determining of, whether we can open up, democratize, the US always plays a role.
Right.
What we find, one of the common wisdoms that relates to this question of sovereignty is that we are stronger as a region. That if we work through institutions like CARICOM, if we foment ties within the Caribbean,
Right.
then we can improve our prospects for development, and we can also, mediate the powers of the United States.
Right. Right.
We are not, however, always on that path. In the case of Jamaica, it wavers between a commitment to CARICOM and going it alone.
Right. Right. Right.
Jamaica prides itself in terms of its relationship with the United States. That somewhat is related to its diaspora.
Right.
That also depends on who is in power
Right.
in local government. And currently, even though Jamaica has been the chair of CARICOM, I would say that it's not strong regionalist at this time.
Right, right. Now, before we conclude, how about Haiti? Haiti and Cuba, two stickling factors in the Caribbean region still.
Yeah.
How do you see Jamaica coping with it? I know she has troops in Haiti, right?
Well, there have been, I think, more rhetoric than actual action. As far as I know, there are only 24 military personnel or police, I'm not sure which they are, but security, let's say, personnel in Haiti, Jamaicans. So we have not, even though we have supported the military interventionist role in rhetoric, we don't really have troops on the ground.
Right, right.
Now, the question of Jamaica's support for Haiti and Haitians, I would say, is a matter of concern, because what we have found is that in recent times, when Haitians arrive on our shores, they don't get the usual protections of international law, and they are quickly returned without the expected processing, etc. There was a recent news item where I think 2 Haitian men who were married to Jamaican women have been deported to Haiti.
Right.
So yeah, it is of course an important point of reference for us as Caribbean people. Our future is tied up in the future of Haiti, but I don't think we have settled on what that means. There has been increasingly loud position that says Haitian solutions must be determining of Haiti's future.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
But that is not necessarily the case.
Right, okay. Well, Dr. Maziki, Thame, is always a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to chatting with you again to keep us abreast of the situation in Jamaica and its neighbors.
All right. Take care then, Vaughn.
All right. You be good, huh?
You too.
My regards to your colleagues in the university. All right.
Thank you.
All right. I've been speaking with Dr. Maziki Thame, a professor at the University of the West Indies in Mona campus in Jamaica. This is Vaughn Martin. Caribbeana continues.